Hey everybody, and welcome back in this second part of our video series for building a website. In this one, what we're going to do is we're going to start setting up our sort of base, I guess you can call it a classes or our base CSS file. And we're going to get our font set up and all that good stuff so that we can really, you know, set up a nice foundation so our website's going to look great. We're also going to set up our CSS file so that we can get that ready as well. So this is really going to be just a real basic sort of setup file that we're going to create, and then this will allow us to move on. So let's go back to the boilerplate code, and I'm going to just review this really quick for people who have never seen this before. This is called boilerplate, and the way that HTML works is with tags. And tags are always surrounded by a less than and greater than symbol. And so each of these tags serves a purpose. You'll see that every one of them has a opening tag, except for the doc type. That was a bad one to start with. But you'll see that this tag here is an HTML tag, okay, and it's telling us that this file is going to be in English. The language is English. You'll notice that that HTML tag closes down here, and there's a little / that tells us that it's closing. Next, we've got a header tag, and this is kind of where the brains of the website is stored. I'll talk about this stuff later. This is a meta tag. It's a character set UTF-8, which is basically sort of the basic character set that we use on the internet. This is setting up the viewport where we are basically viewing our page. It's telling us that the initial scale of the width and height is going to be set to 1. This becomes important later. I won't get into that too much now. This is our title for our site. You can see the title tag opens and closes. Let's give our title of our site a name. I'm gonna give it a name. I'm gonna call it website video series. I don't know. This really doesn't matter what you call it, but this is the name that if you were to actually post this up on the internet, this is what Google would search for the name of the site. It's also what is going to show up in the top of the tab as well once we save it. Let me just make sure that it's actually going to do it. Yeah, so I hit Command S, and you can see here now it says website video series. So whatever's between the title tags is going to be what's up there. And then that closes the header. And then we get into the body of the site. And the body of the site is really where all the action takes place as far as what we see. The body of the site is sort of the visual side of things. I like to space stuff out. That's just me. I also like to make sure everything's tabbed and indented properly. That's just going to make things easier. You won't see me doing a lot of commenting, but commenting is also a good thing to get in the habit of doing, especially if you're new to web design and you don't really know what all the tags are doing. But you'll see here in the body of the site, right now I just put some words, says hello world. Did I say put some words? I meant put some words, hello world. And anyways, right now it just says hello world, and that's what's displaying on the site. So here you can see the title, here you can see the body. And now what we're going to do, and again, I'm kind of jumping all over the place here, but I want to make sure we're set up properly before we get going. We're going to install custom fonts. And I always tell students in the class that you don't want to be working with the default font. The default font, I think it's Times, it's really nasty. You want to work with fonts that look decent. And one little design rule of thumb is that I always like to find a really good serif font and a good sans serif font. Okay, and if you don't know the difference, let me show you. Serif versus sans serif. Let me see if I can find a quick little video that will explain that, or not video, just a picture. So when you're working on the web especially, you have some fonts that'll have serifs, which are these little tickies on the ends, and then you've got ones that don't. Those are called sans serif. Generally, on the web, sans serif work better as body copy, so like the bulk of what you're going to read. And serif fonts work better for headings and for like, yeah, like bold sort of whatever. In the print world, it's actually the opposite. So if you're designing things that need to be printed, like in a book, serif is easier to read and sans serif works better as a heading. Don't ask why. I don't have those answers, but all I'm going to tell you is online, sans serif is generally a better body font. Okay, so how do we get some fonts? Now, in this little window here, I'm going to just do a search for Google Fonts. Google Fonts makes some fantastic fonts that are already web friendly. I'm just going to expand this a bit so we can see a little more. So we can browse the fonts that they have. I probably have some saved right now. But you'll see here in filters, we can go to, let's just see what they have as far as filters go. We can go through the serif and sans serif folders. And so if we want to see all the serif fonts, we can hit all. We can also sort these by popularity, I believe. I just need to see that setting where it is. I might not be expanded enough. Yeah, here, down at the very bottom of the filters, you can search by most popular or trending fonts, newest fonts, whatever. It's up to you. Sometimes I go to most popular to see what people use. And here's some nice fonts. Ooh, Merriweather, that's a nice font. Okay. So you kind of look through the list, and maybe I'll go with PT Serif. I don't know. That's kind of my go-to. I use that a lot. But you find one that you like, and you click it, and it's going to give you this sort of preview of it. It's going to show you the font and different styles of the font, the bold and the italic and all that stuff. And basically, we want to incorporate this font into our site. Okay. Now, let me just clear the ones that I have in here right now because I don't want to screw you guys up. Let me just get rid of all these ones. Let me go back to the one that I just had. We're going to, like I said, pick a serif and a sans serif. So let's say this is the serif one that we want. We're going to get the font. Okay, we're just going to click it, and it's going to add it to this, I don't know, like a shopping bag or whatever you want to call it. Then we're going to go to fonts again, and we're going to find a sans serif. So let's just get rid of the serif filter. Let's go to sans serif now. And let's go to most popular. We already got that turned on. And now we're going to see a whole bunch of other fonts that are here. These are all sans serif, and you can see they don't have the little ticks. And so we're going to find one that we like here. It doesn't really matter which one you pick. I'm going to go with Roboto. I love Roboto. And I'm going to get that font as well. You can see the little shopping bag changes to 2. And now we have 2 fonts in our collection. And so normally, if you were going to use this in a print job, like a design job, graphic design, poster, whatever, you would download them. But because we are using them for a website, we need the embed code. The embed code is how we can actually put it into our website. So we're going to click that. It's going to give us a lot of stuff here that might look a little scary. Okay. But what we basically want is this first part here. And it's telling us that this code is going to go inside the head of your HTML code. So we're going to copy code. You'll see it right here. Copy the code. We're going to go back to our VS Code. And we're going to just put some room in here under the viewport scale. And we're going to just paste that in. So Command V. And it's going to be a really long line. As you can see, it's a long line. But in there, if you look carefully, you'll see there's the name Merriweather, which is the one I've picked. And you'll also see Roboto. And what it's telling us is that it is loading, and I'm going to actually just tab this over. It is loading all of the different variations of that font into our website's style sheet, basically, is bringing it in. Remember that the head area, the header is sort of the brains. So it's loading them all in so it knows about them. And if I hit Command S to save, you are not going to see anything change here yet because we haven't told the website to actually use those fonts yet. All right, so we're going to do that next here in this same video. So let's set up our CSS. Now, again, if you've never done website design before, your index file is sort of the foundation. It's the way that the site is built using the tags and all the different elements. But the CSS is really sort of the design. I don't know how to explain it. It sort of overrides how the HTML looks. It allows us to add a lot of visual effects and it allows us to make things look good. So we're going to go into CSS to the folder here. We're going to hit the little plus button. We're going to make a file called style.css. Okay, and hit return. Automatically, this is another thing I really like about VS Code is that it automatically makes a tab for it, and we've got a blank CSS document. We need to link to this file in order for it to actually work, in order for us to actually be able to use what's in this file. So what we need to do is switch to our index tab, and just somewhere here under the viewport again, we're going to put this line of text. Okay, we're going to use a link, and the relationship rel equals, you have to use the quotations. I think it'll add it automatically, but we're going to use a style sheet, close it with a quotation. And the type of file is a text /CSS file. And next what we need to tell it is where is this file located. So we put an href, which stands for hyperlink reference. We're going to equal, and we're going to look for it in the CSS folder. See how it automatically knows, /style.css. It already knows it's there. We just have to make that link, and then we're going to close our tag, and now this style sheet is connected. This is very important. This line is incredibly important. If you don't have it, nothing that you put into your style sheet is going to actually work. Okay, so again, just to review what that is, it's a link to a file, which is, it's telling us that the relationship to the website is it's the style sheet. The type of file is text, and the text is CSS, which is another sort of programming language. Not really a programming language, by the way. It's more of like a markup. I don't know what the proper term is. But then the hyperlink reference, the reference that it is going to the actual file, is in the CSS folder. You can see that right here. And inside of that folder, that's what the / means. Inside of that, there's a file called style.css. And that's what's making that connection to that file that we have up here. Okay, so save that. You still won't see anything change because we don't have anything in our CSS file right now. We don't have anything actually, showing up in there right now. There's nothing changing this website. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to that tab for style.css. Hopefully you didn't close your Google Fonts. I probably should have told you that. We're going to go back to here. And now what it says in the second part is which version of the font do you want to use in your website. Now I'm going to show you something like I don't like using it this way because this is loading every single version. Again, you could pick and choose. I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to do it. In the top of our CSS, we're going to put a star, which is above the 8, and then a curly bracket. The star means everything. It's going to affect everything within our website. And we're going to copy and paste this first line, these 3 lines. I can't speak today. These 3 lines that are in between the curly brackets of the first font, which happens to be Roboto. I'm just going to copy these 3 lines. Command C or Control C if you're on a PC. Paste it in here like that. Okay. Now what this is telling it for the entire website, okay, remember the star means everything or all of the website, use the font Roboto, okay, sans serif font. The font weight will be 100 and the style will be normal. What it's basically doing is setting up a sort of a foundation so that the site knows what font to use. And if we hit Command S, and whoops, I was on the wrong side. I want to hit here, Command S. Look at that. It now changes on the live server side to that font. Now, one thing you're going to notice by default, and again, that's why this is in here, there's a lot of different versions of that font. Okay, and so this was Roboto Thin, and this is where the font weight character attribute comes into play. The font weight controls how thick the font is. So you can see at 100, it's kind of thin, hard to read. So if you don't like that, you can go into your CSS and just change it to something like 400 and save it. And that's going to give you a much thicker version. You can go 300, kind of find a sweet spot where you think that looks good. And that sets up sort of the base font for the entire site. So if we go back to the index and I just type a bunch of stuff. By the way, one nice thing about VS Code is you can just type the word lorem and then hit enter or return, and it will put in a bunch of lorem ipsum, which is just basically dummy code that gives you sort of a starting point so you can see how the font looks and how the text is going to look. It saves you typing a bunch of gibberish or a sentence or whatever. If you don't want to, you can just type lorem and that will give you that. So that's where we're going to stop for right now. That is setting up the fonts and the style sheet. And in the next video, we're going to start actually building a few not classes, but a few different beginner parts to the site so that we can start creating things like dividers and navigation and all sorts of stuff that we're going to need. So we're going to start setting that all up. We're going to talk a little bit about how to place objects within your site so that you can, move things around and whatever. And that's going to allow us to start to build this site. All right, so stay tuned for that.